What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole and I'm a person in recovery. My sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. Today I have taken a little, I took a little, what is it called? When you ask people to vote? A poll. I took a little poll earlier on my live stream and asked everybody what they wanted me to talk about, and you guys want to hear about my prison experience and hear some story times from back when I was in prison. So I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. I haven't really focused on any prison content in a while, and so I'm going to share with you guys all about my prison experience. So come on in, get comfortable, get yourself a snack, because last time I was telling a story time, we were here for 2 hours. Also, if you know anybody who loves to listen to story times, who wants to be entertained, share this video to them. Let them know. Invite them to the show. Because, honey, there will not be a dull moment up in here. When I'm telling my stories, it is fucking hilarious, and y'all are going to have a good time. So come on in, y'all get seated, greet your neighbor, let your friends know, and let's get rolling. Now, so, it's important for you guys to know that I went to prison, and I went to prison in 2009, and I went to prison, got out, and, honey, I thought I was going to get sober, but that did not happen. I got sober for about 9 months after I got out of prison, and then I relapsed, and I was back at it again. So, a lot of people, you know, when people get sent to prison, they think, oh, they're going to change their ways. Oh, it'll be better for them. Hey, Catherine, back out and come back in. It should be okay. But prison actually makes it worse. Prison teaches a person more crimes. It puts you in contact with people, more people that are doing illegal activities. It's not a good experience for anyone. What's up?
Let's go on the other one, Brooks.
What's wrong?
You're going to be in there, stupidness.
Okay, yeah, I'm in here. Okay, so let me go ahead and share with you guys. So, okay. This is serious stuff, okay? So the year was 2008, all right? And for those of you guys that haven't watched my videos, you'll know that this was the year that I started shooting up. I had never injected drugs in my whole entire life until this point. Hey, Amy, I can't believe you were asking me that question, honestly, but you're new. No, I'm not against MAT. I'm actually work for a Suboxone doctor, Dr. B, here on TikTok, and I'm on 2 milligrams of Suboxone, and I fight to stick up for people that are on medication-assisted treatment. That's how I started my whole channel 5 years ago, was because people judged me because I was sharing my story about being sober and being on medication-assisted treatment. I started out at 12 milligrams in 2015, and I'm currently down to right under 2 milligrams, and I'm tapering low and slow with my doctor and taking it one day at a time, and I've been sober for 5 years and 9 months. Okay, so here we go. So the year was 2008, you guys, and like I said, I had been taking pills. I had been doing a lot of Xanax. I had been doing a lot of opiates, but my main drug of choice was methamphetamine. Ever since I tried it the first time when I was 17 years old, I realized that I loved stimulants. It helped me to be skinny. It helped me to not have an appetite. It gave me energy. And you guys, that was something that I have struggled with my entire life, is my weight. Okay, ever since I was a little girl, I always felt like out of place. I always felt like I didn't look like everybody else. I always felt like I was, you know, that they were so much prettier than I was. And so when I found that methamphetamine, it was like, yes, this is it. This is going to help me to stay the way I want to stay, skinny. What are y'all doing? Are y'all staying in here?
Well, Dad's watching TV.
Okay, so I got to go downstairs now. Okay. See, this is what I'm saying. So if y'all are going to be in your room then. Okay? And pick up all the stuff off the ground, Nate. Don't just be throwing your stuff on the ground. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Like, this is what I have to deal with when he has a friend over. They will freaking mess this whole house up, y'all. This whole house is going to be terrorized. Okay. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. Okay, I'm trying to think of how I want to frame the story for you guys, because this was like a pivotal point in my addiction. Okay, so last night on my live stream, I told you guys my whole story, but I kind of went through it really quickly because, you know, there's a lot of parts to it, and we had already been on live for 2 hours last night, so I went through it really quick. So let's go ahead and get into this part. So I graduated in the year 2000. Okay, so by 2008, I had been using drugs for a good 8 years, you know, 8.5, 9 years. And so I was seasoned, you know, I had been doing it for a long time. I was starting to seek new ways to get high. I was starting to, you know, experiment with different other drugs. I was starting to hang out with people that were making methamphetamine. I was starting to, like, I was stealing stuff to fuel my addiction. I was working a full-time job at the time. I was working for, at that time when I started shooting up, I had just lost my job. I had been working for the state of Arkansas. Okay. Hey, Megan. I had been working for the state of Arkansas at the Department of Finance and Administration. For those of you guys that don't know, that is the DMV, where you get your driver's license, your car tags, all that stuff. I had been working there for like 6 years. Due to my addiction, I was doing some fucking felonious shit there, you guys. When I worked at the revenue office, I was the plug, okay? So what would happen was there was people that would come in and they were illegal aliens, and I would help them get their IDs, okay? And so I was helping people get their IDs. I was just doing a lot of stuff that could have got me in a lot of trouble, and I ended up getting caught, and my boss, instead of prosecuting me, she asked me to please resign because she was friends with my dad. And so I went ahead and resigned, and I left that job. Shortly after I left that job, me and LD, the guy that I had been with for like 6 years, broke up. He left me. He was cheating on me with a girl named Ashley, and he robbed me, took all my jewelry, and I didn't see him again. He didn't come back, right, for a long time. And so that was my cue to, like, get the fuck out of Dodge. So now my boyfriend has left me. This is a guy that had abused me for like 2 years. He had split my head open. He put me in the hospital multiple times. He had used me, okay? He used me to get ahead. He used me to pay off his fines. He used me to have a place to live. This is somebody that I thought loved me for 6 years. He didn't love me at all. He saw an opportunity and he used me. So when we separated, I was in a bad place. I was super depressed. I just felt like I didn't deserve anybody. I felt like I was never going to find anybody that loved me. And I was hanging out with a bunch of people who had nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. I was hanging out with my friend Nate. We went to high school together, but Nate had already been in trouble with the law before, and he was manufacturing methamphetamine. Then my friend Tammy was also with us, and so it was me, Nate, and Tammy, and then this guy named Quincy, Pacemaker Quincy. The reason why we called him Pacemaker Quincy is because he had a pacemaker. He was one of the only black guys that I've ever known that shot meth. So while we were sitting there at this house, I hadn't started shooting yet, okay? I'm depressed. I'm hanging out with these people. Like, I'm getting high all the time. I got a job working at the Days Inn, this little hotel in the front. I was like the front office person. You know how you check people in and stuff like that. I had me a little job at the Days Inn, trying to make ends meet. It is what it is, you know? And I was hanging out with them all the time, you guys. We were getting high. And let me set the tone for you guys. This trailer was packed full of shit, you guys. Stuff piled high to the ceiling, okay? Books, electronics. There's like TVs on every edge of this trailer, so that way the TV cameras point out to the driveway, behind the driveway, in front of the driveway, to the side of the driveway. And it takes video of all that. And it all goes to this one TV that's in 4 screens in the house, okay? It was a tweaker house, though. It wasn't hoarding like as in nasty hoarding. It was hoarding as in like a bunch of tweaker shit. You know what I'm saying? It was Nate's dad's trailer. So we're all staying there, and Nate is cooking dope. He's cooking methamphetamine. Now, I would stay there for like 4 or 5 nights, and then I would go to my parents' house, grab some more clothes, take a shower, and leave. And at this time, my parents were letting me store my stuff at their house, but they would not allow me to live there unless I got sober. You know what I mean? They were like, you have to be serious about your recovery or you're not coming back here. So obviously I wasn't going back there. So me, Nate, and Tammy, we were doing a lot of methamphetamine. At this time, I was doing hot rails. And I don't know if any of you guys know what a hot rail is, but that was pretty much the only way I wanted to use, was doing hot rails. And so one day we had all been at the house, and we had been up for like 3 days or something, you know. And Tammy and Nate came out of the back bedroom, and they just looked spun and done. And you know, as an addict, I got jealous. And I was like, why are y'all so much higher than I am? Hey, Angela, I see you, girl. I was like, I've been sober for almost 6 years, Cindy. I was like, why is everybody so much higher than I am? I'm getting gypped, right? I'm getting gypped. And so I stormed back in the back bedroom, opened the door, and that's when I seen what everybody was doing. They were injecting. They were injecting. And so I remember stepping right in front of my friend Tammy, and I was like, I want to shoot up. And if you don't teach me how to do it, I'm going to do it myself. You know what I'm saying? And she tried to talk me out of it. She was like, no, you're not going to do this. Nichole, seriously, once you do this, your life will fall apart. Like, these were, like I said, these were people I was hanging out with who had nothing to lose. I still had a future ahead of me, you guys. I came from a good family. I was smart. Like, these were my friends that had been in trouble. They had been to prison before. They came from broken homes. They had nothing to lose, and they felt that way. You know what I'm saying? They could have turned their life around. They could have gotten better, right? But they chose not to, and they were at that point in their lives where they saw no way out. And so I'm like, y'all, come on now. You got to give me some of that. You got to give me it. I'm like, you better shoot me up, or I'm going to do it on my own. And so that's when my friend Tammy, they fixed me up a shot, and they shot me up. And that was the day that changed my life forever, and not in a good way. That was the day that basically Satan entered my soul, and I basically sold my soul to the devil that day, is what it was like. When that meth went into my body, it took over my whole life. It took over my whole life, and I was obsessed with feeling that feeling again. I wanted to get that high every single time. And so I chased that high, and chased that high, and chased that high. I don't know if I ever was able to achieve the high that I got that day, but I'm telling you guys, I tried for the rest of my life. So the moment that I started injecting methamphetamine, you guys, I went from being someone who, you know, took care of myself, took a shower, made sure that my car was clean, presented myself well. And by 6 months into shooting up, I looked like someone pulled me out of the gutter on the streets. I had lost so much weight. I was shriveled up. My eyes were sunk into my head. My clothes were falling off my body. Okay? Falling off my body. I had lumps all over my arms from where I would miss a shot and it would lump up. I had a couple of open sores on my arms where I would, have an abscess and have to get it drained. My face was just a mess. I had little spots. I had chapped lips all the way up to my nose because I would do this, and so it would get a scab all the way up to my nose. That's how bad my lips would be chapped. Hey Ryan, what's up, babe? I was lost, but I had my meth. As long as I had my shot of meth, I would be okay, and I truly believed that. Every day when I woke up, I would give myself a shot. If I didn't shoot up meth that day, I would shoot up cocaine. If I couldn't shoot up cocaine, I would snort some oxys. Okay, I would take some Xanaxes. I would seldom sleep. When I would sleep, it would be because I knocked myself out with opiates and benzos. So many times I knocked myself out and damn near killed myself and would wake up in the hospital because I had overdosed. Okay, now this is still when I'm living in Hot Springs where I grew up. I haven't even went to prison yet. Okay, this is all in a 6-month period from the first day I injected. Okay, so I am skeezed out. I am driving around just like, this is me, okay? Everywhere. That's what I look like. You can't even, because I'm just tweaking everywhere. I'm twacked, okay? Twacked. Me and pacemaker Quincy jump in my car. We go to my baby sister's house. My sister Michelle was also a drug addict, okay? Me and my sister Michelle would shoot dope together. So I took Quincy over to her house because we were all going to get high. And we were going to stay the night over there with my sister. And that's what we did. The next morning we woke up and we jumped in the car. He was driving my vehicle and I was sitting in the passenger side, and I was like, yeah, you can drive. It's all good. Like I'm out of my mind. We're listening to some rap songs. We're just, I think I look great, y'all. I think I look so good. I got my makeup on. I got my eyeliner on. I'm skinny. I look like shit. I know I look like shit. Now I know I looked like shit. But back then, you couldn't tell me nothing. Back then, I thought my shit didn't stink. Okay? So we're driving down the road, and he looks at me, and he was like, hey, the twins want us to drop them off a bag. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So we swing through the Terry twins' house. Now, for those of you guys that are new to my TikTok, you won't know who the Terry twins are. So let me just go ahead and inform you. The Terry twins are a set of twins. Okay, these twins are stuck back in the 80s. They have their hair cut in a mullet at all time. They have their missing front teeth, no front teeth. They are about 4'11", and they are the biggest thieves in Arkansas. These girls can pickpocket you and look you in the eyes and get that $100 from out of your pocket, and you won't even know it happened. These girls are professional thieves and professional informants for the police, okay? Professionals. They still doing it to this day, okay? So, but they were also dope fiends. So they ran in the circle with all the other dope fiends. So it wasn't nothing but a thing to go through the Terry twins to get some pills or get some dope or vice versa, right? We all interacted with each other, okay? And so I was like, okay. And so we were driving over there and we went into the house and we all got high together. We were all using. That's kind of how it is when you're selling meth, is that you'll go into the house, we'll give them their shit, and then we'll all do some shit together, and then we're out. You know what I mean? And so that was the process. We got back in the car and I was sitting in the passenger seat and he was driving my car, you guys. We didn't even get a mile and a half down the road and we were surrounded. I'm talking 2 big ass black SUVs, okay? And marked police cars all around us, dude. Swarmed, okay? Swarmed. My car is still rolling forward and there is a detective that grabs my car door, throws it open, throws Quincy out the door, and he sits in the driver's seat and slams my car into park. All while this is happening, another guy has me pulled out and I'm thrown on the ground spread eagle. Get on the ground, DeMayo! Get on the ground! And I'm spread eagle. I'm like an X with my belly on the floor. And I'm like, I automatically go into, I don't know what's going on. I'm not telling a thing. I'm not snitching on nobody, right? I ain't no snitch. And so I'm sitting there and they pull me up. Officer Jessup knows me. He knows my sister. My sister was in and out of juvenile when she was younger because she had behavioral issues, okay? And so, hey, Bonta. Hey, Joan, love you, girl. So he's like, Nicole, what's going on? You need to come clean. We caught you up. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't know why you're pulling us over. And he's like, that's what you're going to do? You're not going to talk to me? And I'm like, nope, I'm not talking about shit. And so he goes to me, he says, I'm going to go through your purse. Is there anything in your purse that can cut me or prick me or anything like that? And I was like, no. You guys, I had a loaded syringe in my purse with methamphetamine in it. And I didn't tell him it was in there. And so he took my purse and he said, is this your purse? And of course I said no. And he said, so this isn't your wallet with your ID? And I was like, no, that's not me. I don't know who that is. And he was like, and then he found the syringe and he was like, what the fuck, DeMayo? That was my maiden name. That was my last name. What the fuck, DeMayo? You weren't going to tell me about this? You weren't going to tell me about this? I was like, I don't know whose purse that is. I don't even know why you're talking to me about this. Like, I am just stone cold sober. I'm stone cold in him. Like, I'm not saying shit. Well, I turn around and I hear Quincy over there. And he is just fucking yelling and screaming, pissed off and shit. And they pull 6 grams of dope out of his sock. And so we're both fucked. We're both going to jail on a possession charge, right? Maybe even distribution. I don't know. They pop my trunk. There's a hookah in my trunk. There's all kinds of fucking pipes and fucking... There was shit in my car that you could make methamphetamine with. It was a whole fucking setup thing. But there wasn't enough to charge me with manufacturing. Thank God. So long story short, they throw us in the back of the cop car. And they impound my vehicle. I contact my family. I'm like, my mom and dad, hey, my car needs to get out of the impound. So my parents got my car and they held it. They kept it away from me. But me and Quincy went to jail, and Quincy looked at me. He said, call everybody in my phone, and gave me his cell phone, and they put him in one holding tank and me in the other one. I called every tweaker in that phone, and I found somebody to bail us out. One of our tweaker friends, this older guy, came up there, and he fucking put up his Harley Davidson, you guys, to get us out of jail. We were probably there for like an hour, if that, and we were right back on the streets. And so, of course, I'm just like stunned. I'm like, I just got a charge. I just got a possession charge. Possession of a controlled substance, a Class C felony. And I am tripping. I know that it's bad. And I'm kind of like, but then I'm going to go get high. You know what I mean? And so Quincy was like, come on, girl. You did a good job. You didn't say nothing. Come on. They're picking us up and we're going to go get high. And it was like we just had a little misstep and then we were back at it. You know what I mean? Except for he was used to doing this. He was a habitual offender. I had never been in trouble in my life. I had only been to jail one time, and it was because I had a public intox when I was 17 years old. So this is like really affecting me. Like, I'm tripping, right? And so I ended up going to my parents' house the next day. I was crashing and burning. They let me come home. They let me sleep there. And that's when the front page of the newspaper came out a couple days later. And there I was on the front page of the Garland County Sentinel Record. Nicole DeMayo, drug bust, nets so much dope, da-da-da-da-da. And there I am, you know, on the front page of the paper. And my dad was fucking mortified. Mortified and pissed as hell. Pissed as hell. Yes, so this was an older guy named Red, the guy who put up his Harley. And so we had a lot of older white men that were, yeah. There's a lot of people that do dope that have like a lot of nice stuff, like trucks and all kinds of stuff. They just do dope, you know what I'm saying? So that's how it was in Hot Springs. There was a lot of older people that had a lot of nice stuff, but then there was a lot of people that didn't have shit. So this was somebody that had shit. He had his own house and everything. And so anyway, my dad brought me in the bedroom. He said, you know, I need you to come in here. And he put that newspaper down on the desk and he said, look at this. He was like, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that you're my daughter. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed of you, you know? And I was just like, I told my dad, I was like, I'm sorry. And he was like, why are you doing this? Like, why can't you just stop doing drugs? And at this time, my addiction was still like, I was still in the early stages of my addiction. I know it might not sound like I was, but I still had another 8 years to go in my active addiction. You know what I mean? And so at this time, I had been to treatment one time. Okay. So at this time I was like, you know, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better, Dad. Like, I'm sorry. And my dad, that's when I sat down and my dad said, well, you know, the detectives called the house. They want you to come up there and they want you to meet with them. Tell your wife I said what's up and I love her too. They want you to come up and meet with them. So I had to go meet with the detectives. And this is where they tried to basically get me to narc on everybody. And so they brought me in. They sat me in this room, you guys, and I was in this room all by myself with a double glass where you could see in it, but I couldn't see out, right? And so these two fucking detectives come in and they sit down and they're just ramming me. They're just telling me about how I'm going to go to prison, how my life is never going to be the same, how I'm going to lose everything. I'm not going to be able to get a job, all this stuff, right? And that's when they sit down and they say, but we can make it all go away. We can make it all go away. No lawyer present or anything, Lauren, nothing. They're just fucking telling me off, right? And I don't know better than to say I want my lawyer present, you know? And so they're sitting there and they're telling me off about myself, telling me, and then they say, but we can make it all go away. We can fix it all. Hey, Nathaniel. Hey, Nathaniel.
It's just a pillow fight, didn't it?
They were like, we can make it all go away. And that's when I looked at these dudes and he said that. He said, all you need to do, and he explained it to me. I was like, what do you mean you can make it all go away? And he was like, well, let us explain to you. What you'll do is you will go and you will make 3 confirmed buys. So they were going to pick somebody like Nate or Quincy or another big dope dealer, and they were going to basically have me go in and buy dope from them 3 times. And I had to get the dope in hand. They had to take the money. Then I would have to go back and report to the detectives, right? And that had to happen 3 times. Then on the 3rd time, they would go in behind me and just sweep the whole place and arrest everybody, okay? So I was like, they explained that to me, and that's what I was like, you know, I need to call my dad. I need to call my dad. So I stepped out of the room and I called my mom and dad, and I talked to my dad, and my dad said, fuck no, you don't say shit. He said, you don't say shit. You did the crime, you pay the time. He said, if you do that, people are going to come after your family. People will come after us, right? And he was right. And so I was like, okay, that's all I needed to know, right? And so I go back in there and I sit down and I was like, I'm not doing shit. I'm not telling y'all shit. In 2008, I was 20. So I was 18 in the year 2000. So in 2008, I was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So I was like, no, I'm not telling y'all shit. I'm not telling y'all shit. Fuck it. I'm going to trial. I'm going to fucking trial, you know? And so they have said, okay, and they appointed me a public defender, and I walked out a free woman and left. Next week, I met with my public defender. He sat me down and he said, you got two choices. You can take drug court, and you'll be in drug court. You'll have to pass drug screens, yada, yada, yada. You can go, well, he's three choices. You can go and do the prison time, or you can take probation. Y'all already know what I said. I said, give me probation, baby. I take the probation. You know, he said, okay, 3 years probation is what you'll have to do. And I was like, okay. He's like, can you do that? Are you ready to do that? I was like, yeah, I can do that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I can pass some drug screens. I can get over on that shit. Hell yeah. Right? So a couple weeks later, we went to court. They sentenced me to the 3 years probation, and I was scot-free. Walking out of there like, hell yeah. They gave me my probation officer. I went and met her, and I was like, you know, what's up? My name's Nichole. Introduced myself to her, gave her my urine. I passed my first urinalysis with flying colors. I was clean as a whistle. That was the only damn UA I passed. That only UA I passed in the whole 1 year I was on probation. That's how bad it was. Okay? That's how bad it was. So I pay off all my fines. Okay? So I'm working. Just so you guys know, I am working a job. I am a full-time bartender, waiting tables, making cash money, y'all. Making cash money. I'm living good. I got lots of money coming in. I am supporting my own habit. I am buying a lot of cocaine. I'm buying a lot of methamphetamine, and I'm eating a lot of benzodiazepines. I'm popping Klonopin and Xanax like it's going out of style, okay? And so I have to meet with my probation officer for the first time. I paid off my fines. I thought that would kind of like, you know, give me some leniency. Like I got all my fines and fees taken care of. Like all I'll have to do is report, right? I'll just report and she'll let me just kind of slide underneath the rug. I don't know if I got the meanest bitch that ever walked the face of the probation officer world, but I think that's what happened. Because this lady was she had it out for me. She was fucking going for the jugular. Now let me describe to you my probation officer. She was about 6'3", 375 pounds, big, giant woman. Long blonde hair, always wore it in a low ponytail with like man energy, okay? Like she was no joke. I'm about 125, 130 pounds, dripping wet, skinny as hell, skeezed out looking, right? I'm like, okay, and so she's like, come on in, come on in, DeMayo, come on in. I'm like, okay, and she's like, I need you to take a UA. Okay, it's my first time meeting with her, right? After I met with her, this is my second meeting. I'm like, okay, sure, but I'm gonna fail. So I'm just gonna tell you straight up right now, I can't pass the drug test, so I'm gonna fail it. Well, you still need to take it. This is when I learned that I had bladder shyness. This is when I learned that I could barely push out a pee. It was so fucking hard. The reason why it was so hard is because this woman would come in to the bathroom with me. She would have me go in the bathroom, put my leg up on the counter like this, so she could look inside of the TT hole and see if I had anything in there. Even after I would tell her that I was going to fail, she still wanted to see up in the TT. Okay? And so that made it even more hard for me to pee on demand, because now I just feel like exposed. I just feel like all she wants to do is see my badge like every time I come in there, right? It was so weird. So weird. No, it's not normal. Listen to this. Listen to this. And so I fail, like, I have to report every month, right? So for about 2 months, 3 months, I fail, okay? I'm failing. She's having me lift my leg. She's having me spread my my coochie cheeks away. All that, right? Well, I think it was like the 4th month I was on probation. I went in there and I was having, first of all, I had a really bad stomach ache that day. Like I was having really bad. My bowels were runny, if you know what I mean. And so I went in and she was like, she was pissed at me. She was pissed at me because I was failing for benzos. So I went and got myself a legal prescription. And I had myself a little prescription of Klonopin. Bitches! And she was pissed that I had done that. So she had called me in to pill count me. Now, of course, those pills didn't make it past the 3rd day of the prescription. I fucking took them bitches in 3 days. They was gone. Okay, so now I filled the bottle with some other pills. Who knows what they were? Probably aspirin or some shit. And so she's pissed. She knows those aren't the Klonopin. And so she wants me to do another UA. Okay, so we go in there. I lift my leg up. She makes me do the thing. And then she stands in there. And I am pushing so hard. I am pushing so hard trying to get this pee to come out of my vajayjay. Right? When all of a sudden, shit squirts everywhere. Diarrhea shit. In front of her, on the floor, and on the toilet. And I'm just standing there like... By this time, I'm sure she thinks that it's on purpose. I'm sure she thinks that I just shat on the fucking floor on purpose. I am mortified. I am tripping, you guys. Okay, I am so embarrassed. I'm like damn near crying, okay? And so I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I told you I'm going to fail. You know what I mean? Like, why are you torturing me? And so somehow, some way, a little bit of pee comes out into that cup. I hand it to her. I wipe my ass. I do my best to wipe up the floor in that bathroom. And I walk the fuck out of that bathroom with my face so blood red. I was so fucking embarrassed. Okay, I go into her office. I sit down. And she's like, I'm through with you. I'm through with you. I'm not fucking playing with you no more. I'm going to give you one chance. And this is the last chance I'm giving you. I'm going to send you to treatment. You want to go to treatment? Will you accept the treatment? And I was like, yes, I will go to treatment. I would love to go to treatments. I would love to. So she gets she gets this place called South Arkansas Substance Abuse, which is a 30-day residential treatment program. And it also has a 5-day detox connected to it. And so it's set in stone. I'm going to rehab, right? And so I think it was like a day later, my mom and dad I got my stuff packed up and my mom and dad drove me down there. And you guys, I was so sick in that detox. I was coming off of opiates. I was coming off benzos. I was coming off so many drugs. I was so sick in that detox. It was the hardest detox I think I've ever went through. What do y'all need? Hey, take those off, baby. Those are my slippers. You're going to wreck them. Nate, what do you need? Oh, no. Yeah, please don't break my slippers, bud. Oh, God. Yes, this was for probation. This was my last chance or she was going to revoke my probation. Okay, so I did really well. I made it through my detox. I was sick as hell, but I made it through my detox. Now, let me tell you all a little bit about South Arkansas Substance Abuse Center, okay? This treatment center was like nothing I've ever been to before. It was ran by a man who was a recovering heroin addict. This is the first time I had ever met anyone who had really done heroin. Okay, now you got to remember, I grew up in Arkansas, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Down here, there wasn't no heroin back when I was getting high. I've shot heroin maybe like 20 or 30 times, but for the most part, it was pills.
My thing?
What thingy, baby? Oh, it's in the freezer on the left side.
Ice cream?
Look down. The spoon's in it. Hey, Austin, what's up, baby? And so this treatment center was like nothing I've ever been to. They like understood heroin. It was just, I could just feel like it was going to be a good place. The thing that made it even more badass is that they had 2 Basset Hound dogs. Full-blown, purebred Basset Hound dogs that lived behind the treatment center. And those Basset Hound dogs had puppies. And so there was about 7 or 8 little Basset Hounds running around all over the property. So we were able, that was some of our chores. Our chore would be to feed and water the dogs. And when we would go outside, we could still smoke cigarettes at this time in treatment. So we would be able to go outside and we could play with the basset hounds and hold the basset. I'm talking to their ears are dragging the ground. It was so fucking cute, you guys. I loved them. I loved them. And so that even made me feel even more comfortable. Like, I can do this. I'm going to make it through this, you know? Thanks for leaving the freezer open. You know, I can make it through this. No, you can't smoke in treatment anymore. At least you can't here. You're not supposed to. So, me and this girl, we were in the same room together during my detox. She was so sweet, you guys. Her name was LC. I will never forget her. In fact, I'm still friends with her on Facebook. LC Greer. LC Greer was her name. We just bonded. We bonded and we became such good friends, and we helped each other all through treatment, all through detox and everything. Well, about halfway through the treatment, you know, about probably 2 weeks through the 30 days, we were outside playing volleyball. Now, this is one thing we would do. We would play volleyball. We would do outside trips. We would go hiking. I was in charge of the kitchen. So me and this guy named Mexican Mike, we would make breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We would have taco nights. I would make spreads of fucking waffles and eggs and fucking salsa with cheese on the eggs. And I was just living the life in this treatment center. We were having a good time. You know, it was a good time in my life. Me and Elsie, we were all playing volleyball, and she was out there. She was super athletic, and she fell, and she broke her ankle, basically. And so she's on the ground, and she's crying, and I go over there, and I pick her up. I pick this girl up, and I'm carrying this girl into the treatment center, carrying her like a little baby. And I took her in there. We went to the emergency room. She had to get it put in a cast. And so from that day forward, I had to bathe her in the shower. I had to put her up in her bed. Like, I was her literal person, right? And so I'm taking care of her the whole time that the rest of the time we're in treatment. She graduated a couple days before me, and then I graduated. Now, before I graduated, they were like, hey, girl, we want you to stay here. They loved me. I was doing really good in my recovery. I wanted to stay sober. I was eager. I was learning things. Like, I was really doing it. And that's what I want you guys to understand. When you hear me tell you guys my story, every time I've ever been to treatment, I've always gone to treatment and I wanted to get sober. Like, I would give it my all. I would be in there learning all the answers and fucking sharing like I am now with you guys about my addiction. And I was just eager and eager. They were like, we want you to stay here. We want you to come back and share your story with the other residents. We want to help you. You can live in sober living. We'll help you find a job and everything, right? I should have done it. I should have done it. But I didn't, and I went back to Hot Springs. Let me tell you guys why I went back to Hot Springs. I had met this guy. His name was Adam. His name was Adam, and me and Adam, we waited tables together. We both hit rock bottom in our addictions at the same time, and I went to treatment, and he went to treatment. And while I was in treatment at South Arkansas Substance Abuse, he sent me a letter from Teen Challenge telling me that he was in treatment and how proud he was of me. I thought that Adam and me were going to be together forever. I really liked this guy, and we had real good chemistry together. We would wait tables together. Then after we would get off work, we would go back to his apartment, which was a garage apartment. It was over somebody's garage, you know, and we would fucking, you know, chill out, drink, do all kinds of shit. Well, I didn't even realize that he had an addiction. I thought we were just getting drunk and taking pills every now and then. And then one night, this is before I went to treatment and while I was on probation, one night I woke up when I was staying the night with him and I realized he wasn't in the bed beside me. And so I was like, Adam. And so I went in his living room. I went in the kitchen. He was nowhere to be found. And I look out the window, and his van is there. Now, let me just explain something. He drove a big white van, like a pedo van, like a, you know, like a child snatcher van. And so his van's down there, and all I see is this lighter flicking, flicking, flicking. I knew right away, he's smoking crack. I ran down there, and there he is in his truck, smoking crack pipe. And I knew. I said, what the fuck, man? You've been lying to me. You've been lying to me this whole time, you know? And he was like, I'm sorry. Like, he had been leaving me, and I would be so passed out on pills and alcohol that he would leave, and he would go buy crack and go to the crack hotels. Because in Hot Springs, there was this road called Park Avenue, where there's all these nasty hotels where people would, you know, stay in these little one-bedroom efficiency things, right? That's what he was doing. And so he was going behind my back smoking crack. And so the jig was up. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, here I am shaming him because he's smoking crack, and I'm a drug addict too. But it was just like such a betrayal, right? Such a betrayal, right? And so this is before I went to rehab, all right? And so we went upstairs. He goes in his room. He opens his drawer, and that's where he shows me all the pipes, all the Brillo, everything. And I had already told him I was going into treatment because my probation officer was going to revoke me. And so that's when he told me I'm going to go to treatment too. And so I went into treatment, and he went into treatment. And when they gave me the opportunity to stay at that treatment center and learn, right? I said, no, I'm not gonna stay here. I gotta go back. What if Adam gets out of treatment and I'm not there? And so my dumbass didn't take the help from that treatment center. When I graduated, I left and I went back to Hot Springs. Well, guess what happened? Adam never came back. He never came back. I've never talked to him again. I've never been able to see him again.
That really is.
It was just, that was the end. So, do you think I stayed sober? Do you think I made it? No. I relapsed straight out of treatment. I touched down in Hot Springs, and I relapsed. And so the next appointment I had with my probation officer, I told her, I was like, I'm high, I relapsed, I'm not going to pass, you know. And that's what she told me. She said, okay, you're going to go back, you're going to go to prison. Oh no, Kate, no, I love my husband, you know what I mean? But Cindy, I will tell you guys that I do wonder, and I've looked him up and tried to find him before. I wonder if he remembers or thinks about me, or I just wonder if he I just wonder, you know. I really, really liked this guy a lot, and we were both just broken souls, you know. He was hiding that from me because of the shame behind crack cocaine. And I did exactly what he thought I would do, and I shamed him and yelled at him and screamed at him and called him a crackhead and all these mean things, you know. And I made amends. I ended up making amends and apologizing, of course. But that was the reason why I didn't stay at South Arkansas Substance Abuse, because I was wondering, I wanted to get back, because if he got out, I wanted to be there to support him. So I went to my probation officer, and she ended up revoking my probation, and they sentenced me. So she revoked my probation. I had to go to court, of course, and they sentenced me to 1 year in prison. So now that's it. I'm going to prison. Are y'all ready for this? Let's go. So I'm sitting there in the courthouse. Hey, you guys, Nathaniel and Brooks, I want you to pick up down here, and then I want you to go upstairs and get washed up and get ready for bed. Okay? Love you guys. So I'm at the court. They sentenced me, and I'm a little sneaky snake, and I had me 7 bars of Xanax in my pea coat. I had one of those black pea coats on. Okay, I grabbed my 7 bars of Xanax and I dry swallowed them bitches, y'all, because I knew it was going down it was going down up in them DMs. It was going down up in that county jail because I was going to be sicker than shit. I was coming off of opiates. I was coming off benzos. I was coming off of methamphetamine. I was not going to be feeling well. And so they sentenced me and they took me into the county jail. Now, in county jail, I had never really been locked up before. Now remember, the only time I ever got in trouble in jail was when I got my public intox when I was 17, and then when I got arrested with Quincy. But we didn't dress out or nothing. They just hold us for about an hour or something, you know? Oh yeah, they seen me. I had them suckers. I threw them in my mouth and I swallowed them as fast as I could, and then they slapped the shackles on me. They were, look at me. The bailiff, the guy in the cop suit that stands to the right, he was shaking his head at me, They all knew they knew me and they knew my sister. They knew my sister because she had been to jail so many times. I had never been to jail except for that one time. And so he's shaking his head at me. You got to understand, a lot of the people that worked at this jail, they went to high school with me. We were high school. We were all seniors together, you know, so they knew me. And it was so fucking embarrassing, you guys, because all of my friends in high school, they all went to become lawyers, doctors, nurses, sheriffs, bailiffs, all that stuff, right? And they made something of themselves. And here I am, mortified, a drug addict in jail. So I got in there and they took me back to this woman that was like the woman sheriff or woman cop or whatever. Oh, shift happens. I could take me 7 bars anytime, day or night, and be chilling like a villain out to make a killing. I had been taking bars for so long, it didn't even affect me like that anymore. I could chew them up, man. It was nothing but a thing. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's on tolerance, okay? I could take so many Xanaxes and just be, you could tell I was fucked up because I was probably slurring my words and shit. But I could walk around. That's how I took my car and crashed it into a brick wall with Neil in it because I was high on Xanaxes. But that's another story for another day. So now they're having me dress out. You know how it is. They take your bras, they have the underwire, they take everything from you. They took my jacket, they took everything. And they say, you know, put this will be here for you a year from now when you get back. Or you can have your family come and pick up your belongings. So I had my family come and pick up my belongings, of course. Well, I dress out in the oranges and they take me down to the county jail, Garland County. I'll never forget it. And I walk in, I got my little pad that I'm going to sleep on, my little cot thing, 2 blankets, one that covers the pad and then a scratchy wool blanket and a little flat ass fucking pillow, okay? A flat ass fucking pillow. And I'm like, damn, man. And I walk in there and there's all these bitches I know that are tweaker bitches, you know? I will never forget it. Stephanie, this girl named Stephanie was in there, and she said she greeted me when I came in. Then my friend Kristin was in there. I was like, "What's up, girl?" You know what I mean? Like they were all in there, and they all welcomed me into the pod. "What's up, girl? Come on in. Make yourself at home, sister." And they put me in a cell with a girl. That was going to be ended up getting out before me. So I slept on the top bunk and she slept on the bottom bunk, right? These were like little flat white, I don't even know if you could call them pillows. They were plastic, girl. Plastic. And so I went up in there and I went up to the top bunk and I laid down and I passed out. And I was probably asleep for a good 1 or 2, maybe 3 days. 3 days. They would wake me up, of course, to see if I wanted to eat. But I would just go back to sleep. And after those first 3 days, I woke up and then I came back to life. And I was in there talking to everybody, called my mom, had her put money on my books. And they had a TV up in the corner of the pod. So we could all of us girls would drag our beds out there and line them up and we would watch Jerry Springer together. We would watch the Maury show together. We would watch fucking all the shows together, y'all. All the shows. We would get our commissary on commissary day. We would be eating our fucking food and watching the Maury show. He's not the baby's daddy. All that stuff. You know, we'd be laughing and just cutting up, you know. Oh yeah, I had really bad diarrhea. I was super duper nauseous, but one of the great things about going through withdrawal in jail is that you know you can't go nowhere. So for some reason, it's not as bad. I don't know why, but I was just like, hey guys, please be careful, Nate. Please. For some reason, it was easier in jail. It was easier in jail to go through it. It was not as bad. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it, but it's because you know you're not going nowhere. You are stuck there. And I could complain and cry and fucking whine all I wanted to, but nothing was going to change. I couldn't leave. Well, then I figured out. One of the girls said, come here, come here. She calls me over into the cell on the far left-hand side of the pod. She's like, come here, get down here. And we're bending down by the toilet. She's like, watch this. Hey guys, what's up? And all of a sudden, a man's voice comes through the pipes. Hey girl, what's going on? Hey, we got Nicole DeMeo down here. Anybody know Nicole DeMeo? Then my friend pops on and says, what's up girl, it's Greg. What you doing over there? We got a damn toilet telephone. We can fucking talk to the boys. The toilet telephone, baby. And the toilet telephone, it be ringing day and night. Nichole, you got a phone call on the toilet telephone? True fucking story. So now, I'm talking to the boys over in the other side of the pod. We're fucking cutting up. We're fucking having it. We are just fucking doing some shit. I'm fucking telling them what happened to me while I was in there. They're asking me did I snitch? Of course, you know, I'm telling them everything that happened. And so this adds some more level of entertainment to the jailhouse days. You know, I got me a good 60 to 90 days in the county jail. So the toilet telephone helped pass by the time, baby. It helped pass by the time. So what we would do was we would get all of our food and we would go in that fucking far cell and we would call the boys on the toilet telephone. My mom made sure she put about $50 on my commissary, $50 to $100. And so the girls that helped me out when I first got there, I helped all them out when I got my commissary. And that's one thing that I learned in jail and in prison is that when someone helps you out, you do the right thing and you help them back out. You know what I'm saying? Well, then my bunkie left and I got a new bunkie and it was Candace motherfucking Regal. Candace was my first sponsor ever when I was trying to get sober for the first time, when I first went to Quapaw House when I was like 23. Okay, Candace was a meth addict and she had gotten in trouble for methamphetamine, and so she was going to the same prison I was going. And so she was my bunkie, and I'm like, what's up, girl? What's up? We sat there and we reminisced. We talked about where we went wrong in our recovery. I'm like, man, you used to sponsor me. What happened? She was telling me about how her relapse started. I mean, it was just a whole thing. And she was telling me, you know, I'm going to Pine Bluff. Are you going to Pine Bluff? And I'm like, yeah. And so it was like crazy how it was like we met in my first ever treatment center. And now here we are like 3-4 years later in prison, going to prison together. And so I had about 20 days with her, and then it was 6 a.m. and the bailiff, one of the bailiffs or sheriffs, whatever you call them, came down, guards came down. DeMeo, get your shit. It's time to go. 6 a.m. Hopped in the back of the cop car, and they drove me up to Pine Bluff to go to prison. Now, when I got up there, y'all, I was shaking in my boots. I thought I was going to get raped. I thought all this bad stuff was going to happen to me when I got there. I thought these girls were going to greet me by beating me down, right? I was so scared. Nothing like that happened at all. It was nothing. But let me tell you how it did happen. So I get there and they gave me my ADC number. If I remember correctly, it was 754077. 754077 ADC number. I think that was it. It might not have been. So they give you your ADC number, and they gave me, I think, 3 pairs of yellows. So the suits we wore were pastel yellow suits, and they said like RPF right here, and then you would have to wear a tag with your name on it in your picture. And so they gave me all my stuff with my white Bob Barker Vans, my fucking slip-on nasty-ass plastic shoes for the shower, a couple sports bras that were so stretched out that your titties weren't going to be held up at all, and some white underwears and some socks. It was horrible. But before I could do anything, I had to get deloused. Do y'all know what that is? Where they spray you with the lice bug stuff. So that way if you do have lice, that lice stuff will kill it, right? And so they do the lice bug stuff to you, and then you rinse off in the shower. Now, they put me in the shower, little ass me, in between big girls, 2 big old girls. I was so scared, I was shaking, y'all. And I'm starting to get used to like being naked in front of everybody, because that's what you have to get used to. Whenever you are in jail, you got to get used to being naked and pooping and peeing in front of everybody, because you have no freaking privacy. No privacy. So I'm butt ass naked in between these 2 bitches I never met in my whole entire life, bending over, squatting coffins, pulling my butt cheeks apart like this, like just nothing. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Inmate, turn around, squat and cough, pull your cheeks apart farther, cough harder. Like they're not playing with you. It's not cool. It's not supposed to be cool, but it sucks. Like that. Exactly, Nate. Nate just did it so just so y'all know, he's over here demonstrating for us. So they assigned me to my unit, okay? My unit was Unit 2. Now, the way the prison operated was there was 6 units, okay? Units were these, like, buildings that held about 100 girls in them, 50 to 100 girls in each unit. There was a unit for developmentally delayed women that had mental illness problems and, they weren't all there. They weren't all there. And then there was Unit 2, which was the unit that you started out orientation in. So I'm thinking I'm going to go in there and they're going to have me behind these cells and all this shit. No, honey, no. It's not like that at all. It was a building, and it was a fucking hallway of bunk beds. Just racks on racks on racks on racks. That song, racks on racks. I would always, racks on racks is what it makes me think of. I'm in Arkansas. And so they got the racks lined up like this and racks lined up like that, and there's a little line that you can walk in between them, okay? And so they told me, get on your rack, get your shit straightened up, so I had to make my bed, get on my rack, and then it was count time, okay? You get on your rack, you sit there, stand right beside it, and you don't move because they're counting all of you, and they have to do that like multiple times a day to make sure that you're all there and accounted for, right? And so this is my first time in prison. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how people are going to treat me. I don't know what's going on. There's a guard that's over the unit, and the guard's like, listen, this is where you're going to, like, get your job assignment. This is where you're going to kind of learn the ropes of what you do when you're here in prison. You can go take a shower, get ready to go to bed, because it was, by this time, it was like in the evening time. And then tomorrow morning, you wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 a.m. And so, yeah, I went to bed, and I'll never forget it, you guys. My first night in prison, I was on the top bunk as usual, and I was laying there, and it just all hit me, like, I can't leave. Like, I'm here. I lost my freedom, like, that's when I sat there and I thought, how did it all get to this? How did I let myself get to this point? How did I how did I get here? And that's when you start reflecting and you start thinking about all the things I could have done differently, all the people that I could have changed that I was hanging out with, all the things that I could have done to be better, you know, and I would just go over it and over it in my mind, in my mind, in my mind, in my mind. I'll never forget Christy Gertman. She was the girl that I made friends with, one of the first girls that I made friends with while I was there. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys about 3 days in the hole. So after you get your louse, they delouse you. They throw you in the hole for 3 days because they got to make sure that you don't have infectious diseases. So I was in the hole with a girl named Nikki. And we were in there together, but they're making sure you don't have tuberculosis and all that shit. And we just sat in there and told story times all night. And just laughed for the next 2 or 3 days. But then I went to Unit 2. And you just sat there and think about it. A year. I was there for a year. I know it's not a super long time, y'all, but it was a long enough time for me. I had never been in trouble before, you know. So I met Christy Gertman. She was a black girl. We made just tight friends right away, and we just helped each other through the whole year that I was there. We had each other's back, you know. So I'm in there, and they assigned me. I'll never forget it. They assigned me to the compound work crew. What's that? Hose squad, basically. You're outside, you're mowing the lawn, you're fucking doing manual labor. Possession of a controlled substance, Class C felony. You're gonna work for whatever you're doing. And I was like, damn, man, I'm gonna be working my ass off. I'm gonna lose weight. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get skinnier. I'm already skinny. Little did I know, I gained so much weight in prison. But that's for another day. So they assigned me to the compound work crew, and I'm out there, and I'm pushing the mower, and I'm working, I'm doing my thing. I'm learning that we have to march everywhere we go. I don't know what you've been told, but Unit 2 is good as gold. And we had to do these chants everywhere we went. We had to deuce up everywhere we went. We had to walk with our hands behind our back everywhere we went. If you wanted to go to the bathroom, you had to ask for permission for everywhere you went. You couldn't run. You had to walk in a deuce, and your feet had to be going the same way together at all times. If they saw you and you were not walking like that, and you were not deuced up, you would get a disciplinary. It was no joke. Like, they were serious about this shit. This was a way to, like, break us down and make us, you know, feel stupid as fuck. And so I'm out there and I'm pushing that lawnmower, y'all, and one of the guards seen me. I don't remember her name, but she was the sweetest guard. I'm so glad that she picked me. She said, "You come here." I was like, "Oh God, I'm in trouble. What did I do wrong?" You know, she said, "Come here. I want you to come work in laundry." And I knew right then, I was like, hey, I'm going to work in laundry, man. That's where you want to be when you're in prison, either laundry or the damn kitchen. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm coming. And so I started my day. I went to my boss on the compound work crew, and I said, "Hey, Miss So-and-so wants me to come work in laundry. Will you sign off on it for me?" And she signed off on it for me, and I went to fucking work in laundry. And I was down there with like 7 other girls, and we fucking worked it, y'all. We had to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to go around the whole compound and get everybody's fucking bags of laundry. Okay, when I tell you these bags of laundry were so freaking big, that giant. It took like 5 of us girls to pick up the bags and throw them up on top of the truck. Of course, the guard would drive the truck. We would pile these bags up so high they would be like in a teepee on top of this fucking truck. 3 of us girls would have to sit on the top of these bags to try and make sure that they stayed in the truck, and we would drive down the hill to laundry. And we would be down there from 2 a.m. till noon or 1 o'clock every single day doing laundry. Morning, noon, night, rain, sleet, snow, whatever it was, we were down there. Okay? Let me tell you about some of the fucking, some of the laundry escapades we would have. So, first of all, we had a couple of girls that were girlfriends down there, so y'all already know what was going on with that. Then we figured out that if you cut the heat to the dryers, you could get in the dryer, turn it on, and it would Flip you around. Flip you around. So we would be down there flipping ourselves around. Now, we were able to get a radio. We were able to get some free world food, and we would have us some free world food, donuts in the morning. Sometimes the guard would bring us like ribs and shit. Like it just depended, you know, and we had our music on and we'd be down there working. Sometimes we even snuck cigarettes in. Somebody would give us a cigarette. It would come from the men's prison, because at this prison, the men's prison was like right behind us, and we could see them and they could see us, okay? Especially out at the laundry, because laundry was way down the hill away from the main units. And so the men's unit was over there and they could see us. And we would be out there like, hey! And we didn't know who we were yelling at. You know, we love y'all! And all this stupid shit. We were locked up. We were locked up. We wanted attention, you know? We were starving for attention, y'all. One thing I learned real fast is not to sexually act out with other women. That I would get in so much trouble. There was a lot of lesbians, girls that were lesbian and that would get into relationships and start fighting with each other. There was a lot of disagreements with shit like that. It was always a fight with couples or some kind of girlfriend shit. You know what I mean? Luckily, I've never, like, I had dated a girl when I was just, Tammy, that girl I was telling you about with Nate. But, like, I wasn't, like, openly just, like, seeking out girlfriends. So I was pretty much to myself in prison. Now, gay for this day. Exactly, Summer. A couple of friends of mine, we were really close, but we weren't, you know, we weren't fucking or anything like that. So after about 2 or 3 months in prison, I'm starting to get used to it. I'm starting to find my way. I'm starting to learn the ropes. Then Candace comes. Candace from the jail, from the county jail. And she gets assigned to my unit. And so now, like, people are coming down that I know and that I'm familiar with. And so, like, it's almost like you're locked up and then, like, a friend comes in there and you're like, oh, yes, you know, and it's like, it's going to be okay. We're going to make it through this together, you know? And so Candace came down and I was there, you know, I was like, girl, we're so happy to have you down here. I will tell you guys this. The whole time I was locked up, the only people who wrote me or called me or came to see me was my parents and my best friend, Scott. None of my friends that I had in active addiction gave a fuck about me. None of them put money on my books. None of them called me. None of them came to visit. None of them even wrote me a fucking letter. Okay? None of them even wrote me a letter. Jamie, honey, we're not talking about that right now, sweetheart, but I don't know. I don't think so. It was so upsetting to see all these people that I thought were my friends be nowhere to be found. It was like just abandonment, you know? And that's when I learned. This was a learning point for me. I realized that those people that I was in active addiction with didn't give a fuck about me. They didn't give a fuck. Okay? They could care less. And so I learned that because here I was, I thought these people were my friends. Exactly, Amy. They were just acquaintances. But here I was, I thought they were my friends. Isn't that so stupid of me? I was so naive. Okay? So my mom and dad, I'll never forget. Hey, Mackie, I'll never forget the first day, the first weekend they came to visitation. Now, let me explain to you guys how visitation went. This was a minimum security prison. It was just full of a bunch of girls that had drug charges and shoplifting, shit like that. You know what I mean? Not anything violent. So what they would do was they would open the whole gymnasium. Okay, it was like a basketball gymnasium, and they would set up 2 chairs and then a chair right here for the inmate. and they would set that row by row up all across the gymnasium. So that way we would all be in there with our loved ones and we could all visit at the same time. So they would call us in. Nicole, DeMayo, it's time for visitation. Unit 2, girls who have visitation, deuce up and come down. And so they would say this on the loudspeaker. So all the girls that were in Unit 2 who had visitation, we would deuce up. And then our guard would allow us to go down to the gymnasium. And we would march down there in a deuce, chanting, get down there, get into the gymnasium, into the side where we had to go for our strip searches. Okay? Then they would say, all right, line up. We would all line up. Strip. You would take up off all your clothes, okay? Butt fucking naked, all right? You would turn around, pull your butt cheeks apart, cough. Look. They would look in your shoes, in your socks, underneath your armpits, underneath your breasticles, underneath your hair, behind your ears, in your mouth, all right? No privacy, ever, okay? And so that's what we had to do every single time we went to a visit, before and after. Strip search, strip search, strip search, strip search, every single time. So I go in there and my parents are already sitting there and I see them and I can't run. And so I walk over there and we can't hug. Like I can just be like, okay, Mom, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy, And my mom and dad, my mom is crying. I'm crying and my dad is starting to get emotional. My dad is like, I can't believe that we're sitting here. I can't believe that we're sitting here seeing my oldest, my firstborn daughter in prison. I remember my dad sitting there. He's like, are you going to quit? And I was like, Dad, I'm not using any drugs right now. I wasn't using any drugs. I was just sitting there. I was sober in prison. I was like, I'm not using any drugs, Dad. I'm going to change my life. It's going to be different. I'm going to be different this time. And so my parents have been begging me to quit drugs. I had been to treatment twice now, and now this is prison, right? And so every time they would come, we would sit there and we would talk. And my dad would ask me every time, like, this is going to be different, right? You're going to get out of here and everything's going to be different, right? And I would try so hard to reassure my dad, like, everything's going to be different this time. But I didn't know. If it was going to be different. So we would get to stay. The visitations, you guys, were a long visitation. They would be there for like 2.5, 3 hours. And they could stay the whole time. Now the way it would go was it would kind of go like the people who got there first, they would have their 2.5 hours or 2 hours would be up. Those people would go and it would go down and it was just, they had it so organized. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. Now let me share something with you guys. Towards the end of my sentence, I met a girl named Rhonda. I will never forget Rhonda. Rhonda had pills. She had Norcos and Hydros. And I was like, I love those. She trusted me. She worked in the kitchen. She told me that she had them one day and she passed me a couple in the kitchen while she was making, I would go through the line, she would make our food and she passed me 2 on my tray, right? So she gives me two of those and I take them. And I was like, hell fucking yeah, man. What a relief. Like, I just felt so good. I just loved it. Well, that's when we met up in my unit because she was in a different unit. But we would meet up in our units before we would have visitation. Like, we would, Unit 2 and Unit 4 would go in the same units. It was just like that. And then we would all get called out. And so I was like, all right, how are you getting those? How are you getting these in? And she was like, my grandma and my mom are bringing them during visitation. And I'm like, what? Yeah, girl, yeah, they had a whole system, dude. Okay? Every fucking visitation, her family was getting fucking pills in the prison to her. Okay? And y'all, like, y'all heard what we had to go through. Strip searches and everything. Everything. This girl was putting those motherfuckers up in her pocket pussy, I think. Because there was no way. There's no way. I can't. She had a plastic bag with the pills inside of them. She would get like 10 of them each visitation. And so now she's told me about it. So she's given me 2 or 3 every Saturday after visitation. And so now I'm fucking up, right? I'm fucking up. And I'm starting to feel guilty. I can't even fucking function during the week because I'm so afraid that they're going to find out I'm taking these. I'm so afraid that they're going to pop me with a random drug test and I'm going to fail, right? And so I wasn't even enjoying the high, you guys, because I was so afraid I was going to get busted. Are y'all hearing me? That's how bad it was. But I didn't get busted. Luckily, I made it. They didn't catch me, but yeah, we kept doing that all the way up until the time I left prison. Yeah, I was so guilty, but luckily they never called me in for a random drug test, and I ended up making it out of there and left, and it was great. So let me tell you about my last day of prison. Oh, let me tell you about the bad shit that happened while we were in there. Hey, Jay. So in prison, what would happen is if the inmates acted up, they would do a thing where they put us on tight house. Tight house? What is that? Let me tell you about it. Tight house is where they would have the whole compound on cleaning duty. 72 hours, 24 hours. And it's not what you think. I'm talking where you don't sleep. You are up for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours with a toothbrush. And you are scrubbing the walls and the crevices and the molding, everything, everywhere. The whole compound got put on tight house for my last 2 weeks that I was locked up in prison. So basically, the only thing we got to do was go and eat, and then we were back to standing up, scrubbing the walls. 24 hours a day, no going to sleep, okay? It was fucking torture, dude. It was torture is what it was. And that's what they called it. They called it tight house. And so now we're on tight house. The whole fucking compound is. We were on tight house, you guys, for, it was probably a little bit over a week. I don't think we made it the whole 2 weeks, but it's still, that's a long ass time, to be fucking, staying up without sleep. You know what I mean? And that's what they would do to us. And they would do it on purpose. It was a way to like break us down. You know what I'm saying? It was horrible, y'all. It was horrible. And so I was so ready to get out of there. Wait, why did that happen? Okay, so what they would say is they would say that the compound, like we were all out of line, right? We were all out of control. And so as punishment for us, because we were all out of control, is that we would have to go on tight house. Maybe a couple of inmates or girls had been getting into a lot of arguments or getting rode up for a lot of stuff. Like a lot of times it would be because people that were in relationships would be getting into arguments, girlfriends fighting over girlfriends, that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? And so there was like fucking 500 of us in prison. So think about that. Like, there was a lot of stuff that would pop off, you know what I mean? And so this was a way to punish all of us. So if we all didn't act right, then we would all get in trouble, you know? Oh, Angel, you must have just got here. I went to prison for possession of a controlled substance, a Class C felony, methamphetamine. So, yeah, tight house was no joke. No joke. Oh, yeah. And this, you guys, I'm not lying to you when I tell you this, that they would do this shit. Okay? Like, it was crazy. I don't know how it was legal either. So, anyway, and I had heard from the other inmates, Arkansas, that had been there longer than me, that they had been on Tight House before for like 60 days once. Okay? Like, it was serious, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I think that what would happen is they would, like, have to let you, like, sleep for, like, 2 hours or something like that before, so they wouldn't get in trouble. But it was real strict, okay? It was real strict. And it was awful. And so, yeah. Let me think. I also, while I was down there, I went through a tornado. It was the scariest shit I've ever been through. Have y'all ever been through a tornado when you were locked in prison? Oh my gosh. So the tornado alarms start going off all over the place, right? So the guards are like, deuce up, and they're marching us all down to the gymnasium because that's where we have to go if a tornado happens, right? And so we're all up against the wall with our heads in between our legs, and this tornado is fucking ripping and roaring through Arkansas, which was something that happened a lot. Here in Arkansas, we get a lot of tornadoes, you know? It was scary. So it was scary, and that happened, but we made the best out of it. Me and the girls, we would sing, we would talk to each other, we would tell story times. And I want you guys to understand something. Like I said, this was a minimum security prison. So there was no killers in this prison. There was no, like, it was just a bunch of girls who struggled with the disease of addiction, basically. Damn near every single person that was in that prison was there because they were a drug addict. And they needed help. They needed treatment. Let me tell you about... Now, while I was there, a killer did come through. And I'm going to tell you about it. Are y'all ready? Are you listening? Halfway through my sentence, I noticed that a bunch of the girls were getting like... Everybody was tripping. Everybody was yelling, getting feisty, getting upset about somebody that was new coming into the prison, right? And so I was like, what's going on? I asked my friend Catherine. I was like, girl, what's going on? And she was like, did you not hear? And I'm like, hear what? She's like, they're bringing a girl named Amber in who drove her car into a lake with her 3 children inside, and they died. And she made it out alive. This was in 2010. Y'all can look it up, in Arkansas. And so I was like, no shit. So all the prisoners, all the inmates were like getting pissed because they were like, she don't belong here. She's a killer. She can't stay here. She needs to go to ADC, the prison for the violent offenders, right? Here, let me get out of the way. And so I was like, why are you going back up?
I didn't come down here with them.
Okay, well, you're going to come down here with him. Switch places with me.
I've been taking care of them.
Yes, so they put her in our prison because, okay, so let me tell you what happened. Her name was Amber. In fact, I have a post on my TikTok about her, and I'll put it back. I'll put it up to the front so y'all will be able to read it about her. But so what had happened was she had went to a party that night, okay? And she was under the influence of like benzos and alcohol, all right? And so she was driving home. She took a wrong turn and she drove into a lake. Oh no, Bonta, this was a girl, like she really did drive. She was drunk and high when she did it. And so all 3 of her little boys, she had 3 little boys, you guys. I think one was Anthony, Erin. I can't remember all their names, but she drove in there and they died. They died. And so they brought her into the prison, and everybody was like, hell no, you know, she killed her kids, she's a baby killer. And that's how it is. Like whenever... I'm sure it's like that in the men's prison too, but in the women's prison, when it's a crime towards a child, it's like not put the prisoners don't like that shit. You know, people they're going to be extra hard on you, and they're not going to want you to be in there around them. And so, she came in, and then like 2 weeks later, I left, and I was out of there. And I'm going to wrap this up because we'll start part 2 tomorrow night. So, when I left the prison, my mom and dad came to pick me up. I will never forget it. And they brought me clothes, and I couldn't fit in anything. I had went from about 140 to 210 pounds while I was in prison, you guys. I had gotten so chunky. I was about the same weight I am now when I was in prison back then. And when I came out, I was so upset. But what I did is I set myself up for success. When I came out of prison, I did the right thing. And I got help, and I paroled out to a sober living house. And that, my friends, is when I moved to Little Rock, and my whole new life began. So, what we will do tomorrow night, let me get this long. What we will do tomorrow night is I need to wash this. We will come on here tomorrow night, and we will start out from my first day in the sober living house. What do y'all think about that? 7 o'clock tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? And we'll probably be on here for another 2 hours. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had so much fun telling the stories with you guys. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will be back on here. Hold on a second. Don't get me lying. Tomorrow night, Kyle from Sober Dogs is going to be on my channel at 7. So it'll be at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you guys don't get to watch it tomorrow night, don't worry. I will upload it to my YouTube channel, okay? For those of you guys that don't know, my YouTube channel is Real Talk Recovery with Nichole. I am going to take this video right now and go upload it to my YouTube channel. So if you didn't get to watch the whole live with us this evening, you can watch it on my YouTube channel. I'm literally about to go upload it. Okay? Love you guys.